FY20 student tuition and fee hearing. My name is Ken Klein. I'm the Associate Vice President for Budget and Planning. So if you would like to comment on a fee proposal, please make sure you sign up at the front table. And so you do have to sign up so that I know to call upon you once we go through that fee. After each presenter has had a chance to present, then I'll call those who have signed up to speak. And then once they're done, the committee, the Student Tuition and Fee Committee, can ask questions to the presenters. And if you do choose to come and speak, you should remain, and the committee can also ask you questions. So make sure anyone who's talking to use the microphone, because we are recording this, and we'll make this available on the Boise State website. And presenters, please make sure when you come up here, you introduce yourself so that we can record who you are. So before we go into the first presentation, the Student Tuition and Fee Committee is the committee that will hear the presentation, and then we'll develop a recommendation for the president on what tuition and fees should be proposed to the State Board of Education. And so that's why we're here. And so I'll have them introduce themselves.
Hello, everyone. My name is Caleb Smith, and I'm the student body president.
Zachary Strong, member of ASBSU.
Alicia Esty, chief of staff.
Marty Orr, faculty senate president.
My name is Tony O'Rourke. I'm the interim provost.
Mark Heil, chief financial officer.
Randy McDermott, campus operations.
Leslie Webb, student affairs and enrollment management.
Tana Monroe, professional staff president.
Harold Blackman, interim vice president for research and economic development.
Shalini Prasad, student member of assembly.
Great. And so we'll start off with tuition and the general education fee.
Thanks, Ken. Again, I'm Mark Heil, chief financial officer for Boise State. And let me pop open the presentation here. Let's see. Okay. So just a little bit of a history lesson. Last year, we changed the plateau for our full-time tuition and fees. So the way it was structured previously would be this blue line, where the full-time plateau went from 12 credits to 15 credits, and then the credit overload charge started at 16. So to give our students a bit more flexibility, we expanded that plateau so that the full-time plateau starts at 11 credit hours and extends the back to 16 credit hours. So just gives a little bit more flexibility. We're proposing the full-time tuition to be the same method that we used last year, so 11 to 16 credit hours. This is, sorry, if you're very far away, it's gonna be a little bit hard to see, but this is a comparison of the budget request that the university submitted compared to the governor's recommendation. Now, the legislators are going to set this budget in another week or so, so we don't know what it's really going to look like, but these are the two proposals. A couple things that are noteworthy here. You'll notice that the governor didn't recommend these items. This is repair and replacement costs, and these are inflationary adjustments. There's a separate library inflation cost and just kind of general inflation. And he's not recommending funding for those. You see here also that there is a occupancy cost that the governor's recommendation basically cut it in half. And you can see that there's not a negative adjustment here for outcomes-based funding. The governor's model is maintaining the enrollment workload adjustment model, not the outcomes-based funding model. This is the general appropriation here. This is the appropriation where we get approval to spend our tuition funds that we get. So a couple things here that stand out it looks like the governor is recommending more CEC than what we provided. The instructions that we get when we submit our budget is that to assume we have a 1% CEC, and then we provide a CEC calculator so that the governor's office can put in whatever percent increase they want, and it'll calculate. So we submitted assuming a 1%. The governor's recommending 3%. That number is exactly 3 times that. Similar down here on the tuition side. So if you were to look at what that looks like in terms of the total amount that we got approval to spend but no funding from the state to spend, this is kind of what it looks like. It boils down to be $6.1 million compared to the total tuition revenue. It's a 5.2% deficit, if you will. So in order to have our budget be the same dollars as it was last year, we would need to have a 5.2% increase to tuition and fees. And this is what that looks like. So this schedule drops in the same 5.2% increase in tuition and fee, or excuse me, tuition. And then this schedule just drops in the requested fee increases for the various areas, with a couple of adjustments that were made to the facilities fee and the alternative transportation fee that folks will speak to a little bit later. For reference here, I also dropped in the part-time fee as well as the summer fee. The part-time fee is equivalent at 11 credit hours. So if you took the full-time tuition and fees and divided it by 11, that's how you would get the part-time schedule. And this coming summer, we changed the methodology for calculating the summer fee. It used to be the same per credit hour fee as part-time. But this coming summer, we have a different strategy where we discounted it basically 20%. And what we're trying to do is provide incentives for students, if they're short of 15 credit hours in a particular semester, to take those courses and get those credits over the course of the summer, making it just a little bit more affordable. So we'll see if we're successful in creating some demand there, because we do have some capacity on campus over the summer. That's all I had for the general education. Oh, I would mention that Campus Rec is on here, but they're not requesting a tuition increase for this year. So we'll document the purpose for that fee being the same as it was last year.
So I guess first, are there any questions from the committee for Mark? Okay, now we'll move on to the facilities fee.
This is a pretty straightforward, the strategic facilities fee. It has served Boise State well for many years, allowing us to add much needed facilities during a period of growth and change on campus. Mainly throughout history, we have used this fee as a revenue source to pay debt service on new building projects. And you can see on the screen there some of the building projects we've been able to move forward with the help of the strategic facilities fee. But this year in FY19, we decided to set aside a small percentage of it, approximately 2% of the total fee, for critical capital improvement projects on campus. Not necessarily brand new buildings, but major capital improvement projects that are smaller than new buildings. One of the reasons why we decided to do this is because we're in a little bit of a pickle related to how we fund major capital improvements on campus, especially as they relate to auxiliary enterprises. The auxiliary enterprises that will likely be most readily accessible to this audience would be the Student Union Building and the Student Recreation Center. Those are auxiliary enterprises or facilities that are mainly occupied by auxiliary enterprises. The state of Idaho won't currently allocate funding to those kinds of auxiliaries for use for repair and maintenance and major capital improvement projects. And at the same time, excuse me, at the same time, the State Board of Education will not allow us to use the activity fees that are set aside for those enterprises to be saved up and used for major capital improvement projects. So we really don't have a revenue source to pay for major capital improvements in buildings like the Student Union Building and campus recreation. We can save up funds and use them for minor improvements, things like carpet, things like furnishings, things that will enhance the program offerings. But if we're talking about, in addition to a building, a major mechanical system that needs to be replaced, in the case of the Student Recreation Center, the gym floor or the roof needs to be replaced, we need to find another source to pay for those things. And for us, that source is the strategic facilities fee. Specifically then, this increase that is being proposed, we're going to focus it on the Recreation Center. The Recreation Center is currently in need of a whole new heating cooling system. The boiler and chiller have gone bad. They need to be replaced. The gym floor was damaged severely by water from above and below, oddly enough, so there's a complete replacement that needs to take place there. The roof needs to be replaced. A $15 increase to this fee will yield roughly $460,000 in annual revenue. Add that to the amount that we set aside this year, and we'll end up with approximately $900,000 annually that we can use for major capital improvements. In the case of the rec center then, we'll be able to complete these projects that I mentioned by the year, well, we'll have enough money after 3 years in order to complete all of those projects. So, and then in future years, we will prioritize funds to focus on other auxiliary buildings. Eventually, we'll need a new roof on the Student Union Building. That's on our list, and there are a number of other projects on the list that will come due, as well as we may be able to use these funds for things like classroom improvements and other things that will better serve students on our campus. The last thing that I want to do is stand before you and ask for more fees to be placed on our students. I think our students pay enough, but we tried to keep this increase reasonable enough to make progress while dealing with the limitations that are put upon us by external entities. And we will be able to make great progress in the next 3 years, especially on the Student Recreation Center. With that, I will stand for questions.
And next we'll move on to the information technology fee.
Hi, my name is Mark Fitzgerald. I am the Director of Customer Care for the Office of Information Technology, and I'm here at the bequest of Max Davis Johnson, the Associate Vice President for Information Technology and Chief Information Officer at the university. And I'm here to kind of to report on the student tech fee and what we have done over the past several years, what we're doing with those funds, and a request for some changes moving forward. First of all, I want to talk to you how we use this fund. We use it for 6 primary areas. One is we do it for the support of our faculty, staff, and students. And we use this to make sure that we're providing adequate support for education across the university and make sure that all the technology systems are working. So this allows a student to come to one of our walk-in centers, sit down for a consultation to figure out how to use technology in their class better, how to get their technology working on our network, or how to use our communication tools that the university provides to them. We also provide computers for students to use, whether that be in the classroom, out in the hallways, in computer labs, or to be able to use their own equipment. This includes printing, this includes software, and this includes access to computers across campus. We do a number of different software packages. The biggest one would be Blackboard with our student technology fee. And so this is the direct interface between faculty and our students, being able to either educate through an online class or to use this to supplement an in-person class as well. There are a number of other titles and softwares that we use for students because each student is going through our general programs, needs access to math software, needs access to certain science packages, and we do that with our student technology fees. We also implement a number of technologies within the classroom, whether it be a projector, whether it be the speakers, whether it be a microphone, but it's also our clickers and our lecture capture recording system. These are all things that we've heard from our students that they're interested in and that we've pursued in implementing campus-wide. We also have our Wi-Fi system, so the ability to use the internet connected with our personal devices, whether that be a phone, a tablet, a computer. Students are using all of these things to be able to interact and to learn on campus. So with those 6 areas, I wanted to kind of give a recap of some projects that we did last year that we brought to this fee hearing and said we would do if we got a fee increase. And I want to follow up and actually report back that we have done what we said we would do. There were a number of different areas on campus that Wi-Fi was just not adequate for the need. And so we started off with the science building and the math building. Both of those have been resolved and are at maximum capacity, and we're continuing to improve signal in other areas. We also worked on the Micron Business and Economic building. Our next one that we're already in progress with is the Student Rec Center. And so you can see as we're approaching things, we're trying to look at all of campus, not just academics, but where students are, where students interact, and where they work with one another. We came up here and said we would like to move Blackboard off of campus to the cloud and actually have Blackboard run and operate Blackboard. And we outlined a number of different advantages of why we'd want to do that. And we were successful in getting that moved actually over Christmas break. And so we've been this entire semester operating Blackboard in the cloud rather than here on campus. And that's come with a lot of different advantages for us. One of which is a project we're working on right now, which is a student accessibility auditing tool called Ally, rather. And that is going into effect, I believe, over spring break. We're beginning to work with faculty now on the implications and making sure that Blackboard's accessible to all students. We also wanted to improve technology and expand our footprint for what is a general purpose classroom. We were able to do both of those and moving forward be able to keep those up to date and modernized. So with that, we're asking for 2 additional things that we would like to work on this year. First of all, it's the recognition that a lot of salaries are paid off of the student technology fee to be able to keep these student technologies working. And so that we would like to adjust the recommended increase for what the government has recommended for salary increase, or CEC. So we need to account for that without degrading or removing services from students. We also know that on average, our software increases by 4% in cost each year. And this is whether it be Blackboard, whether it be Mathematica, all of these student titles, each of the manufacturers of those adjust their increase between 1% and 8% each year, and it works out on average 4% year over year for us. We negotiate and we try to keep those down. We actively manage those to make sure that we're not overspending and that we've got that taken care of, and that the products are still being used. The other initiative that we're really interested in is our continual improvement of our wireless on campus. We have equipment, we have the funding to get equipment and replace equipment and keep it up to date, but as the technology increases, the complexity increases as well. And we're really interested in hiring a full-time professional to dedicate to wireless and the implementation of it. At this point, simply adding more wireless access points is not going to help us. In fact, it would make the problem worse, but the demand continues to increase. And so we need the expertise to be able to make sure that we're actively monitoring, managing, and implementing our wireless in such a way that it is adequately serving our faculty, our staff, and especially our student body. With that, I'd like to yield to any questions that the committee or any attendees may have. Well, thank you very much.
All right, no questions from the committee? Okay, next we'll move on to intercollegiate athletics and the Spirit Squad.
Well, good afternoon. Come on, we got to liven this place up a little bit, like a funeral. No questions, no comments. How many current students are in the room? 4? Okay, welcome. I just wanted to start off by saying thank you. What you all do for us over the years, and obviously currently in this academic year, is amazing for our athletic department. We're able to enjoy the successes, increase the value of our brand, provide something to the community on and off campus, scholarships, internships, all those kinds of things that we're able to offer because of your support. And I want to make sure that you realize how much we appreciate that. It does not go unnoticed. And we talk a lot about it in our department, how important it is that you support our program. And we hope that what we're providing to you justifies your investment in our intercollegiate athletic program on campus. And I'm always remiss when I forget to say thank you, but it is something that we truly appreciate. I thought what I'd do quickly is just almost put together a presentation, and I apologize if this is a little repetitive from when I spoke to you all in November, so you might be seeing something similar to what you saw. But we're asking for a 4% increase above and beyond what you currently do for the athletic department. And I thought I'd just maybe run through some of the questions that I was given before to present to you today. And, you know, how will the student fee allocation be budgeted and spent? We give you a number of different ways that we do that, but it goes into our general fund, and it covers a lot of different areas. And you can see some of those: academic programs, continued support for our cheer and dance team, hands-on learning for our students. I don't know if you know this, but we've got over 100 intern and paid internships in our department, anywhere from academic tutors to people in our football program to working video and cameras at games, working in our training room. We feel good about that. We're able to employ students on campus that work in our department, and they get hands-on experience, which, as you all know, is pretty important when you're looking towards that next step once you leave. The continued strengthening of our brand. Sometimes that's underestimated, but our brand across the country, and I would like to think that athletics has played a small role in that, is very powerful. We think that's important, and because of your support, we're able to put together a program, I hope, that the university and our student body and our community can be proud of. And you can imagine since 2007 when we played Oklahoma, in terms of how many students are here on campus, the amount of giving that's done to campus, the strengthening of our brand, our ability to play on television, that has everything to do with the support of our student body, and we couldn't do it without you. Outcomes that we hope to achieve: we want to continue with our national exposure. When we play on TV, we usually get 1 to 2 30-second spots where we try to highlight some of the successes of either what's going on campus or maybe something that a student has done that just needs to be out there. Over that 10 or 15-year period, we've played over 120 games on national television. This past season against Fresno State and Utah State, we were on those broadcasts. We reached over 1 million households, which obviously that is very hard to come by if you were just to go out and buy a commercial. So we're proud that we're able to offer that to the university. Helps increase student enrollment, which I mentioned, and we think it leads to a more diverse student population on campus because we are bringing students from all over the country to Boise State. And again, I think that has everything to do with the quality of our brand across the country. How do we connect and advance student engagements or student support? Well, obviously, you're able to come to athletic events. We do sponsor a student group called the Corral, which maybe some of you have been a part of in the past. They're the crazies in the end zone and in the east side of the north end of our stadium. We provide discounts across the board to students on campus for athletic facilities. And then some people don't know this, but about 4% of the money that is donated to the athletic department, primarily for scholarships, we give a portion of that back to our advancement effort on campus. That helps this university raise money for things outside of athletics. We feel good about that. We feel like we're a part of allowing this campus to grow that helps fund either people or projects or campaigns or whatever it may be. And that's not something we complain about. That's something we're proud of. We feel like we're pitching in to make sure that we're giving this campus all the resources they need to get better. This is a little bit tricky. They asked me the question of the positions that are funded by student fees. We really don't fund any positions with this money. That's in another budget in the athletic department, now how we pay the people. But I thought I'd maybe just list a couple of positions that have to do with marketing our program and working with our students on campus. Our assistant AD for revenue and branding strategies, our director of marketing, and our assistant director of marketing. That's the three people within our department that work with the corral, work with students on move-in day, work with students when they come here in the fall. And those are sort of the positions that have something to do with our group working with students on campus. And then just a quick glimpse at our revenue for 2019. About 9% of that revenue we count on comes from students. So you can imagine what type of effect that has on the things that we're trying to get done in the athletic department. What students receive. I'm not going to go through this whole list, and I've mentioned a couple of them. Obviously, tickets to games, special rate on guest tickets for parent-family weekend. We also offer a discounted recent graduate ticket rate that we feel brings our alumni back to campus. Is a great way to do that. We support a lot of different student groups on campus. We provide tailgates for students before football games. We hand out free pizzas on game day, give T-shirts away, and I'm going to try not to go through the whole list. One of the primary sources of connectivity with the university upon departure, we feel we play a role in that. We can bring our alumni back to campus. They can bring their families, their coworkers, and they have an opportunity to come back and visit us. Hopefully we provide that to them, and they can come back on campus and have some fun once they're done being a student here at Boise State. I show this slide only because I think it's relevant that you all know that we're not at the top of the heap in terms of what students give to universities within our conference to help support athletics. And I just want to make something clear. Obviously, these top two numbers are quite a bit. That does have a lot to do with the amount of students that are on those campuses. What we pay on an annual basis versus what San Diego State or San Jose State or Colorado State, that can certainly fluctuate. But there is a huge difference within our conference. But we're proud of that $3.5 million. And I think that we do a good job of spending that as responsible as we can. We make sure that we're putting it in the right places, but more importantly, making sure that we appreciate what our student body provides to us. There you go. I'm going to stop right there. I'll answer any questions. No one's asked one question, so just ask me a question. I don't even care if it's relevant to this, other than who's going to start a quarterback. I don't know that answer yet. But I'll take any questions from the front table or anyone in the audience. We will have no games at 8:21. That's a lie. I'm sorry. I can't honestly tell you that. We are battling that, though. We know how hard that is on our students and our fans. So, well, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, next up is University Health Services.
Hello, is it on? Can you hear me? Okay. My name's Julie Beard, and I'm the Executive Director of University Health Services. Thank you for having me here today. And what I want to do is go over several things with you and talk for a few minutes about our role in supporting student successes, the services and activities that we use to accomplish that, and the financial structure needed to carry that out. So how does student health impact their success? The Robert Wood Johnson Foundation has spent the past year in particular focusing on higher education students and agrees that with what we already know, that all aspects of student health impact their success. I've mixed a few student stories in here just to give you an idea of the kind of feedback that we get from people. I want to share one with you that's not up here that we got from our patient satisfaction survey recently. I have been diagnosed with depression, generalized anxiety, and social anxiety. With appropriate care, medication, and counseling, I thrive. But without it, I wilt. Since starting services, my GPA has risen. I've taken on more outside of the classroom. I spend fewer days trapped in my bed, and my personal life is much more balanced. Without these services, I'm afraid I'll lose all of that. Unfortunately, there's a lot of other students out there that feel the same way as this one. And as you can see by the National College Health Assessment data, that health concerns make up a majority of the reasons that students have trouble with failure in their academics. This is a national assessment, but what you're looking at here is Boise State's data. And negatively affected, if you look down at the bottom of the slide, is everything from I had to take a lower grade on a test, I dropped out of a course, I dropped out completely. The American College Health Association and Robert Wood Johnson support our model that the best way to address student concerns is to really do these three things and improve access to health services both in and out of the clinic, provide comprehensive outreach and education, and we need those to be widespread and proactive. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about outreach here in a few minutes. Also, collaboration with other campus partners really goes a long way to increase the depth and breadth of touch points for students. So let's take a look for a few minutes about access to health services. FY18 showed a 9.2% increase in total visits to health services. And also, we had a 7% increase in unique individuals seeking services. I'm going to break that down a little bit more here. Counseling has grown, and that's mostly due to the fact that we've increased the size of our training program. We've got interns and fellows in that group. And quite honestly, there's just more appointment slots available. We needed that, and we responded with that. Both primary care and specialty medical have increased inpatient visits, and we've accomplished that just by keeping provider numbers flat. So they've taken on more patients, and the provider numbers are the same. Specialty medical is made up of two things. It's psychiatry and sports medicine. And most of the increase here is due to psychiatry, to the point where we asked our psychiatrists to come to the clinic an additional day per week. We don't anticipate any of these trends to decrease. The Chronicle of Higher Education confirms that more students are accessing care, and they're also arriving to campus with pre-existing diagnoses and medications for both medical and psychiatric conditions. More faculty members are referring students for mental health services, and students are much more comfortable accessing care for, especially for mental health, due to a decreased stigma. Well, with these increases in visits, we've seen a very large increase in our uncompensated care demands. And uncompensated care is something that we added several years ago. And what this does is it gives a student an opportunity to apply for deeply discounted or no-cost services. And you can see how much this has grown. Most of these are mental health and psychiatric, but there are a few medical in there as well. I'll let you read these. Here's a few patient comments regarding uncompensated care. Just this last week, we meet every 2 weeks to go through these applications, and I had 10 or 12 new ones, and that it just keeps proliferating. So, these are people that have applied and received additional funding to help them with their needs, and they're very, very appreciative of that. Well, adding providers isn't always the answer. We've seen across the country where universities keep adding providers to their staff, and they're booked out just almost immediately. And so what we're trying to do is take a little bit of a different approach and increase our outreach. And you can see what efforts we have put together here. We've really turned our attention more and more to early detection and prevention. And so here's our outreach numbers. They're pretty amazing, actually. And through our outreach efforts, we're able to reach a much larger student audience and be proactive. Again, like I mentioned before, give them the tools to help them cope with some of their issues on their own, and also let them identify issues early so that they can seek treatment when they need it. So our professional staff really attends most of these sessions. And so we've got people leaving the clinic to do a lot of this outreach. We also have a large number of peer educators, and there is some research out there that shows that peer-to-peer touch is really effective in helping the students. So financial resources are needed to carry out all of those activities. And I just want to mention that in terms of outreach, we do not charge anything for that currently. So that's a lot of touch points that we aren't charging anybody across the campus for those. Let's see here. Okay, so with the help of increased student fees and additional appropriated funding, last year we experienced an operating loss of $54,000. This year, and we're asking for a $12 student fee, and the FY18, or excuse me, FY19, it looks like a little bit of a loss there, but we're really hoping we'll come out pretty even. And those just have been incredibly helpful to help us with the services that we need to provide to the students. We have had a few salary saving dollars in the past year or two. But again, if we're short on providers, it really limits the amount that we can help the students. So where does our funding come from? You can see here on this slide, 50% of that is from fee-for-service insurance companies or patient payments for their care. 17% of that comes from the state of Idaho, and the rest comes from student fees. And then where does the money go? Well, our staff are an incredibly important resource to us. They're very highly trained, they're very experienced, and we're very proud of them. Vacancies give us a little bit of salary savings here and there. We like it much better when we're fully staffed. We also have some other unique expenses up there. We have an electronic medical record. We have janitorial services that require specialized staff to manage those. And then we've got medical and pharmaceutical supplies that are unique. The bulk of our salaries and benefits do not come from the state. CEC increases add about $60,000 to that annually. Our admin service fee goes up each year about 0.5%. Excluding salary and benefit expenses, that admin service fee makes up about at least 25% of our other expenses. There was a number of years there where we didn't ask for a student fee. We had the student health insurance plan and we got along just fine. A couple of years ago, we started asking for fees, and those have been, I just want you to know, incredibly helpful in helping us manage growth and just keeping our current services. And like the rest of Boise State, you know, our fee comparison to U of I and ISU is substantially lower. They were a little bit flat, both of them, the past couple of years. We were fortunate enough to get some fee increases that have been incredibly helpful, but there's the numbers there. So I just to recap, Health Services provides care that minimizes the impact of health-related issues for student success. Where I am asking for a $12 increase that would help provide funding to maintain our services at the current level for the next year. And thank you very much, and I'd love to answer any of your questions. Yes.
Thanks for the presentation there, Julie. I don't know whether you want to skip back a few slides so that the audience can see this, but I had a question about the rows and columns you had up there where you showed roughly, I think it was maybe a $22,000 operating loss for FY19 projected and 54. There we go. Can you explain the methodology to arrive at those bottom lines for FY20 through 22 where it looks like it's a pretty significant deficit?
Well, that would be if we don't get a fee, and with the admin service fee increases and CEC, those numbers would continue to go up. Any other questions?
I don't know if you want to skip forward a couple slides back to when you compared with the different schools. I just had a question. I saw that it was like Boise's fee is about 20% less than U of I. My question is, does that take into account the different enrollments of both schools? So our fee right now,
So what those numbers represent is 4 health services or whatever those are called at other universities. Those are the numbers that are specific to healthcare at those universities. Per student, yes. Thank you.
All right, now we'll move on to the student union.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Nicole Nimmons. I'm the Executive Director of Campus Services, and I oversee the student union as well. We're going to ask about increased student fee for the student union. Got a little video to start with, get some more energy in the room. It'd be great if we had some sound.
Campus. The sub is more than 250,000 square feet and houses numerous student services, student and event spaces, recreational opportunities, and more. The student union team is comprised of more than 80 student employees and 30 full-time employees. University Event Services schedules
Person in here. See if I start this again, if it'll work. Because it's an awesome little video we have. It's just not displaying.
employees and 30 full-time employees. University Event Services schedules, plans, and manages meetings known as the sub. We are one of the busiest buildings on campus. The sub is more than 250,000 square feet and houses numerous student services, student and event spaces, recreational opportunities, and more. The student union team is comprised of more than 80 student employees and 30 full-time employees. University Event Services schedules, plans, and manages meeting and event spaces in the student union, Stickle Sky Center, Alumni and Friends Center, outdoor spaces, and various other spaces across campus. University Event Services is your one-stop shop for all event needs on campus, including coordination of catering, parking, and security services. The information desk and Bronco Card office are your go-to for all questions regarding Boise State and the greater Boise area. They also manage all student employee meal plans, as well as produce and troubleshoot all Bronco cards for Boise State University. The student union is also home to the Game Center. Need to unwind from a long day in the classroom or office? The Game Center has a variety of recreational activities, including bowling, billiards, ping pong, foosball, video games, and board games. This is the place to come relax with friends and even meet new ones.
So as you can see, very dynamic space that we have here at the Student Union. It's not just a place to have part of your college experience with your services that are very much needed, like admissions, but it really is the heart of Boise State. It's where events happen, where people come with ideas, where they expand their experience overall. They get a touch of different types of students through diversity. It really is kind of the home and heart of Boise State. So what I'm requesting today is an increase of student fees, which would be total of $68.50. Know why? So the increase would be $4.50. I'm going to review our financial outlook, what the fee will support, what we've achieved for FY19, and what we'd like to achieve in FY20. So here's our overall financial outlook. The blue area is the income that we have each fiscal year. The gray is the amount that we spend on the fee or on our operations overall. And then the yellow is what we have for kind of our fiscal year reserves overall. So as you can see, as we kind of come down through the years, and we've done it from 2013 through, we're hitting where we just dipped below and started to use our reserves for our operating fees. And you can see where we're making up this year in FY19 with this gray area to supplement those operation fees as well. And that's due to the student union not requesting to have an increase for 6 prior years to the student fees. Last year we did request an increase and we did get $1 overall, but it still does not bring us to even at all. It's about a $600,000 deficit. You can look at our reserves and think, Nicole, that looks like a lot of cash, and then you're going downhill. Or a lot of that is deferred projects that the university had requested us to stall, and those projects still need to continue to happen overall. One of those big projects is a water main line, $750,000. Other projects are elevator cart replacement, projects such as new carpet in the facility on the 2nd floor remodel. I'll kind of go through that, but we do have a capital improvements plan for the student union to really make a difference for our students in the way that they utilize this building and make it interactive and really make it a Boise State pride on the 2nd floor of the student union, just as it is on the 1st. So if you look at us as an iceberg, on top we have the student services, our offices, kind of the way we function, facility, events. We've got all of the different areas that we have across within the student union that really focus on those student services. So you see all the people, and they're all here to help students and make a difference every day. What you don't see is the below the iceberg, which is the operations and infrastructure. So we're looking at salary and benefit cost increase. We're looking at utility increase, as well as recovery of student fees. Since it was mentioned earlier about student fees being discounted this year, we are looking at a $46,000 loss in that. And then, as I mentioned before, in not asking for increased fees to keep up with the ever-changing CECs, salary, and growth, that does continue to put us at a $600,000 deficit. So what we're asking for is a 30% recovery on that, and that is about a 7% increase. So student fee allocation overall, you can see where we started in 2013 and where we've come out to where our request is right about now, which is still below the original amount that was allocated to us for student fees. So we've done a really great job in managing our money, managing the facility, and keeping up with the demand and operations as our students have increased. But we're looking at where we need to kind of get to the level of services to make sure that we're meeting all of those student needs. And this shows with the $4.50 increase that we're requesting. So despite the decrease in operations funds that I showed you in the before graph, here's some of the things that we've made sure to do for the FY19 in changing the student union. So we have a nursing mother's room, which is on the 2nd floor by the hatch area. And it's one of the nicest nursing rooms that we have on campus, I would say, and that's available without reservations. We've also integrated and are continuing to integrate AV in all of our meeting rooms. Before, student organizations were charged, and last year with that $1 increase, we were able to make sure that student organizations are not charged. And we're working on across campus not charging by integrating that AV, currently working with OIT on that project. In addition, we made major changes to our bathroom downstairs at the game center, which is wonderful. It's one of those first, you kind of come in from the Lincoln garage, especially if you're new to campus, and you get to an older restroom and it's like, this is Boise State. But this new bathroom really represents who we are and make sure that it's all user and all friendly. And that really changes that experience for our game center folks. We also newly remodeled art gallery that you can see on the second floor by the staircase, and it really has highlighted art across campus. It's a complement to the fine arts building being built. In addition, we've been able to host more student art in this area and really display it professionally. So with your help, what we'd like to achieve in FY20 is changing some things on the second floor. Like I said, we do have reserves, but we want to make sure that we're keeping those to be able to pay for big projects, and it's our operations funding that, we really need to make sure that we have that fairly funded. So this is the Hatch Ballroom now. And what we'd like to make it and envision is something that really is representational of Boise State, a signature room that we would have ASBSU, that we would have a lot of student organizations use continuously, and really brand it as such. Meeting rooms currently now are lovely maroon choice. But we really want to make sure that we're updating that to be brand friendly. Not only that, but to have configurable furniture. We've got a picture of the Imagination Lab over at Kobe, and talking with our students. That's really what students want. They want reconfigurable rooms, that breakout sessions, and it also is nicely branded as well. Lounge spaces now, I would say very outdated. It's one of my real pleasures in looking at some of the pictures to see what our interior designer will come up with. But here are some of the areas that have been designed. We have South Fork, which is the bigger picture on the left across the street, and really kind of bringing that into the student union on the second floor. Like I said, we really want to make sure that we have that energy on the first floor, on the second floor, and really make sure that we're celebrating the students here in the student union. So our ask is an additional $4.50 to our student fees, and know that this will have a huge impact on all of our students here, all their experiences, and really changed our second floor to be more of the Boise State living room. With that, any questions? All right, well, thank you for your time.
Okay, now we'll move on to ASBSU.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I don't know if anyone noticed, but it's starting to snow a little bit outside, so I hope you like the snow. My name's Caleb Smith, and I'm the student body president here at Boise State. I made this presentation with Angela, who is my chief of staff, but she couldn't make it today. So basically, I'm just going to go through kind of what the purpose of ASBSU is real fast, and that is to facilitate educational, intellectual, social, and cultural engagement at the university, and to advocate for the interests of the students at the university. So how do we do that? Well, I'm going to go through some of our programs and services real quick, just to embody like what we do. So the first thing I wanted to highlight is ASBSU actually provides legal services to students for free. It's located in the Dean of Students office, and if you ever need any legal advice, it's a great resource for students on campus. Another thing we do is we also work with the Dean of Students on the campus food pantry, which right now we are about to expand into multiple cupboards across campus in different buildings, and really excited about that. So hopefully, as it becomes more aware, students with food insecurity will be able to go to most of the buildings on campus, and they'll be able to grab and go, find maybe a little meal kit, for dinner later, whatever they need, I hope it's there for them. And that's what we are working to provide right now. Another one that we do every September is National Voter Registration Day. Basically, every time we do this day, we like help people get registered to vote. And every year we probably get between 100 and 200 additional people who register to vote, which is awesome. Day at the Capitol is kind of along those lines, except that it's kind of with the governor at the time. We do it down at the Capitol, and we meet with different legislators and representatives in Idaho, and it's a pretty cool opportunity for any student who wants to go. Golden Apples is a pretty cool event that we also put on. It gives students an opportunity to recognize faculty members that have really impacted their time here at Boise State. And that happens about every spring. There's a few others on here, and I'll get to them shortly. Basically, so I know that a couple others on the previous page were the Assembly, the Inclusive Excellence Student Council, and the Funding Board. These are all under the Executive Council and ASBSU. This is kind of our structure, where I oversee about 8 other people on the Executive Council, and our Vice President heads Assembly, our Vice President of Inclusive Excellence heads the Inclusive Excellence Student Council, and our Secretary of Student Organization Affairs heads the Student Funding Board. And so I'm just going to go over these pretty quickly. The Student Assembly is probably one of the biggest parts of ASBSU. It is the heart of student voice, as I like to describe it. It's where resolutions and bills and issues across campus are debated, different viewpoints, perspectives. It's a pretty cool place. And it's also a great place as a platform for any campus department to come through and just talk to the students or get information or ask for feedback on something. So if any of you are interested, contact me. The Inclusive Excellence Student Council is actually a new branch of ASBSU that we just merged with this year. And just a basic rundown of what they do is they are there to co-create an environment where we can all express our full humanity. And they also advocate and represent marginalized students. They work on inclusive policy, and they facilitate campus trainings in this kind of subject. The Student Funding Board is actually our probably most direct interaction with students across campus. We provide grant support of around 200 to sometimes 300K a year, depending on what our contingency or rollover allows. Recently, we've had to go a little bit lower because we used to have a pretty massive contingency fund, and that has lowered in the recent years because we have been spending it on the Student Funding Board. And students coming in, basically individuals or groups can come in, request money for like different campus events or maybe a conference they want to go to, like really cool opportunities. One of the best ways to describe it, in my opinion, is it's like you're giving money to a dream of a student. So the student has the dream of going to this conference, presenting their research, sometimes internationally, and they can't always pay for it, and we can at least help them with that, and that's really cool. It's like making dreams come true. So now I'm going to get kind of into what our fee proposal is. It's a little different than the rest of the fees. We are looking for an increase this year, but it has recently changed. And we were actually not aware of the change until about a month ago. So for the past 5 years, our full-time fee has been about $12 for a full-time student. Part-time and summer has been $1.65. And this is what it's been for the past 5 years. Now, it changed this year, but we actually are now with part-time in the summer have gone down to $1.09 because our part-time fee was originally not proportional with our full-time fee. And that just happened this year. That's about a 34% decrease with our budget in general. And the shortfall, as you can see, is upwards of almost $40,000. So what we're requesting is just simply to get back to where we were, and that's about a 12.5% increase, $1.50 on our full-time fee, making it $13.50, and about 14 cents on the part-time, and we didn't change the summertime fee. And that increase, I believe, is actually a little bit more than what the shortfall is, but really it's just some rounding stuff. And what we want to do is just get back to where we were with ASBSU. So some of the $40,000 like increase, we take 10% of our budget, which is about $402,000 for the last about 5 years. We take 10% of that out for for reserves. So that's about $40,000 in reserves that we're actually losing out on. So that also is about the same amount for the ASBSU legal services. So the shortfall that we have, we might not be able to provide legal services or as much grant support as we could. And there's a multitude of things that this shortfall can affect. So basically, I like this picture, this next picture on the next slide. This picture is most of the people that come into work every day in our offices, and they're really working for the students in everything they do. And part of it's like some of my council, some of it's the funding board, some of it's the Inclusive Excellence Student Council. And basically what I wanted to say is we are ASBSU, but it's not just us. Every time I walk in the quad, all the students here are the associated students of Boise State. And the resources that ASBSU provides, the resources and the opportunities that we provide is very vital to the student experience. So not only am I asking for an increase to get us back to where we were, I'm asking all of you to continue to support the student experience. So now I will take questions.
So Caleb, while you're up there, do you want to talk about the student activity fee?
Sure. You mean SAFEB?
Yeah.
So the Student Activity Fee Advisory Board, kind of a mouthful, is something that I chair, and we have about 4 students on it and 2 faculty members or staff members. And this past year, what we have done is, like every year, it's been created for, I believe, 3 years now. And basically the whole process of that is we hear all the participants in the student activity fee. Everyone who gets a student activity fee comes to the SAFEB, and we hear them and we recommend like what they should get, if they should get a fee at all, if like with new proposals, or if they should get an increase or whatnot. And then what we do is we send our recommendations to the Executive Tuition Fee Committee. This year, it's a pretty small increase that SAFEB is recommend. It's about $1. Actually, I think exactly $1. So just a little dollar bill increase for each student. I don't know what that is in percentage terms, but if there's any questions surrounding that, I'd be happy to answer them. Yes. Okay, so you're asking for who came in proposing a new fee. Mm-hmm.
So the question really was around the SAFEB individual recommendations on fees. Those are in the materials. The minutes represent the overall activity fee request, and then just the details are there for information. And so the committee will make recommendations on, I believe it's a 3% or the $1 increase.
Any other questions?
Thanks. Now we'll move on to the student transportation fee.
Good afternoon, John Kaplan and Sam Patterson from the Department of Public Safety. We're here to talk about an alternative transportation fee. And what we mean by that is our shuttle service and our bicycle infrastructure program, not our cycle learning center in this context. So simply put, our shuttle service has really been rising in popularity exponentially. The consequence of that is it's also rising in cost. And we have several very significant major and critical infrastructure projects that we need to address very quickly. Our current funding model simply isn't sustainable, and frankly, it's not equitable in some cases as well. So, go ahead, Sam.
When we think about our transportation infrastructure, we think riding, biking, walking, and promoting green. Riding in with our Boise State shuttles and our Valley Regional Transit bus passes. Biking with our covered bike facilities, our bike lane work with ACHD and A&E, our shelters and our bike tools all are a part of that biking infrastructure. Walking, a lot of the improvements on campus with some of the crosswalks are coming out of Department of Public Safety budget and coordination with A&E. And we're also promoting green. Every year at orientations, we discuss alternative transportation, education, and incentives. So our annual transportation investment right now is around $900,000. So where does that go? So most of this goes to salaries. As you can see, there's $510,000 for drivers' wages, for our shuttle drivers. There's $115,000 for our bicycle facility staff and maintenance. And then we also have about $110,000 for our VRT bus passes and our green bike sponsorship. Also other maintenance programs as well as shuttle replacements and wraps.
So you'll see some of these critical programs that we're looking to embark upon very quickly, including some very necessary repairs for our garages. Also, we have a hawk light planned at Beacon, which we're very concerned about safety there for students in particular, particularly with the new Albertsons that's opened there. And I think it's important to note that the shuttle program plays a critical role in traffic control on campus and parking on campus, really furthers our mission of sustainability. And I think unlike many programs, this is a program that's used every day throughout the day by our students. So it really has come to be relied upon. They're also kind of traveling billboards and further that mission as well, thanks to Sam's work and Nicole's work and doing some excellent branding in the past.
So our revenue sources for the shuttle program are primarily parking permits, our parking enforcement, our event parking, and our charter shuttles. Now, you'll see a little bit later in our presentation, but our operating costs on the shuttle program have gone up every year, and we'll show you that here shortly. What has happened is a lot of folks riding these shuttles no longer have parking permits. They ride the shuttles every day, and they're not putting money into the system to help with these costs. All right, so this shows you exactly what we're talking about. In FY15, that orange amount was $216,000. And then you go to FY19 and we're about $705,000. And this is just the shuttles, not the other portions that we talked about earlier. It shows how much we're spending on these. And students expect it. With computer science downtown, our growth has flourished. Not only do they use it to go to the classes downtown, they go downtown to eat lunch, to hang out. It's become that Boise State is a part of downtown. The river isn't the separator, and we help people get downtown with this initiative.
Yeah, and really just those final numbers on the right-hand side are what are important here. If you look at the ridership in 2016 at about 36,000 and then compare it to 2018 at about 218,000 riders, and it's steadily increasing this year as well. So I think we're at roughly 22,000 per month.
It's about 25 to 30 per month.
That, yeah.
All right, so our current shuttle routes are the blue route that goes directly around main campus, like a circulator for main campus. That is our, has the most frequent stops. It's about 10 to 12 minutes to get around campus. It's very fast. Our orange route is our most popular. There's about 8,000 riders every month, which has a lot to do with computer science downtown, as well as taking folks down to the Lusk area and South Campus. And then just last year, we added the gray route, and that's goes north on Broadway, is the quickest route to downtown. It's about 12 to 15 minutes versus the orange, which is about 22. And it's quicker access from computer science from engineering. So if you look at other universities, and we have a list of about 40 to 50 of these, most universities these days, because of how expensive operating costs are for their alternative transportation programs, have a fee. These are just some of them. University of Hawaii, 26, Washington State, 32, University of Utah, it's about 33, and University of Wyoming, 53. So we're recommending a fee of $12 for full-time. We feel that's helps us with some of our operating costs and will help us towards other public safety and parking initiatives going forward. So we're estimating that it will get us around 400,000 in revenue out of the 900,000 that we spend every year in this section. Okay, we'll open it up to questions.
Oh. Oh, question is, what happens if we don't get the fee?
If we don't get the fee, we'll severely limit our operating costs and we'll most likely have less shuttles on campus and students will not be able to get around campus.
Well, yeah, we just can't sustain the same service model any longer. Yes.
So you talked a lot about the shuttle fee, but you also said about the bike structure. I was wondering more if you could explain more about that.
Like over by Chafee, we've just built a covered bike facility. A lot of that's through a grant that we got with Compass, but we also have bicycle staff. So we have a full-time staff and we also have a student staff. We're not going to increase that, but the fee will help us towards some of those costs, especially the labor. All right, thank you.
All right, that concludes our hearing. Thank you for coming. For the committee, we'll reconvene at 2:30.